Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Ryan with Iowa Classic Cars, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to remove and rebuild a 1949 and 1950 Chevy Fleetline or Chevy car brake system. This might also work on up to 53 or 54, I believe. Anyways, though, before we start that, a few weeks ago, my little buddy Felix here ran under the big garage door when it was coming down and broke a rib. I posted on my community page, and a lot of people have been asking in the comments. So he is back to normal. He's back out in the shop. He's healed up nice. $2,000 vet bill later, but nonetheless, he's worth it. So 2,000 bucks. He's back in action, killing mice out here in the shop, and we can get back to work on this thing. So this is a 1949 Chevy Fleetline, one family owned since new. It does run, it does move, has no brakes. So I've already taken the liberty of taking the master cylinder out and the wheel cylinders. However, I was really struggling with the master cylinder, and I want to show you guys quick up here on the workbench how it's all kind of situated under the car and how you can get it out. All right, so before we start there, these are the wheel cylinders, and the adjuster is actually in the wheel cylinder itself and not at the very bottom like a star wheel on the newer style brakes. So they do reproduce these, but the fronts are oversized and the rears are undersized, which I'm not a huge fan of that. Plus they're like 50 bucks a piece, whereas a rebuild kit is like $12. So if we can, we're gonna salvage these. My friend Norm's gonna help me rebuild these. Pretty simple, but the main thing I want to talk about today, or right now, is the master cylinder. It is an absolute bear to get out of the car, and I'm gonna explain how to take it out of the car because all the videos online really don't explain that very well, which the videos did help me, but it's a lot of trial and error as well. So let's dive into this. All right, first things first, there is an access panel right here, kind of in a triangle shape, held in with like 6 screws. They have a head on them. I believe they're 1/2-inch screws, or 7/16, I'm sorry, 7/16 screws. But you do need to remove this, and the reason why is there are your pedal extensions that are actually attached to the master cylinder that attach to your pedals on the firewall, and this is the only way to access them. Just lay on your back, but with a 1/2-inch wrench and 1/2-inch socket. Pretty easy to get to once this is removed. So first of all, do not start this job without taking that off. Hey, buddy. All right, the next thing I did was I took off the rear lines. There's one right here and one right here. Pretty simple. You guys know how to take off brake lines. Just make sure they don't twist off, and if they do, you have to replace the lines anyways. These are in pretty good shape. They did not twist, thankfully, so got them off. All right, now here comes the fun part. You have, this is all kind of a jangled mess right here. Imagine this on the car though. You have the clutch pedal and rod, and right here is where it attaches to the pedal in the car. So like I said, on the firewall, you have to take this bolt off and it comes off nice and clean. This is your brake pedal, same thing right here. Bolt up by the firewall, take that out, and it's done. You will then have a eccentric bolt. I think that's what these are called, but it's this curved bolt here, and it's actually bolted to like a little mount up top. So take this nut off, and there'll be a cotter pin in here. Take that off, and this whole thing, and also take off the spring, but this whole thing, you can get this out of the way. So let's just take that out of the way now, and this is how it's situated in the car, just like that. So one nut, one cotter pin, the spring, get that out of the way. You will also have a spring on your brake pedal, and the thing I found the easiest way to do this is to kind of push the spring over and out, because it's got a really nice curve to it, which does not help in a tight space. Nonetheless, though, you can get the spring out, but take that off. Now, once you do that, if you can, this bolt right here holds the push rod to the brake pedal arm itself. And it's not a big deal, but look at how much room you have to bite that with the wrench on the backside. This is 3/4 inch, and I found the best way to do this is to use a stubby 6-point, and then just use a big, like a breaker bar on the nut here, because it kind of comes through like that. But it is tough, so you have to definitely use 2 hands or have someone else holding the wrench for you. Keep pressure against that small head right there, and it will come loose. So once that is done, get that bolt out of the way. We're done there. Right here in the front of the master cylinder, you will have this little goofy thing behind this nut. So this nut screws in right here in the front of the master cylinder, and then this little piece. So in the manual, the service manual, it says to take a piece of wire, go down through there and kind of like pull it out. Well, that didn't work for me. So I'm gonna set the camera up here. I'm gonna show you guys what I did. So imagine this is in the car, okay? This little keeper thing right here is inside of this hole, and you really can't get to it. So what I did was I just kept moving the rod back and forth like this. Well, I guess this is the brake, but I was doing it with the clutch. And as I was doing that, going backward and forward, it was slowly moving itself forward. Now granted, this took like 15 minutes, but it was moving itself forward to the point where it came out just enough where I could grab it with some needle nose pliers and pull the thing out. Again, it was not easy, and I just kept going back and forth just like this. It would keep moving itself, but that is one option if you want to, put your piece of wire through there and it won't come out that way. It won't pull out. It's been sitting in there forever, kind of greasy and caked in there. Just move the rods back and forth, and it will start to work itself free. And once you can, grab some needle nose and pull it out of there. So once that is taken out, again, it just looks like this little goofy thing. They're like 25 bucks, so don't lose it. And once this nut and bolt, or this nut is totally out of the way, these rods, they're kind of seized in there right now, but these rods will come right out. And no video that I saw actually shows that, but they have a little keeper on them, and this one's pretty gummed up, so it's kind of a pain to get it out, but they just press right in. So there's the brake. And there's the clutch. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not a terrible job. It is actually terrible to do because you're under the car, very limited movement. But if I would have had this video before and just seen how all the parts are attached, it wouldn't have been a terrible job. Okay, so the last thing to do is, I think these are original bolts, but there's two bolts that actually hold it to the frame. The first one's right here on the right side. Just I think this is 1/2 inch, can't remember exactly. Nut and bolt, pretty easy to take off there, wrench and a socket. However, on the back side, this is a 9/16 headed square nut, and the bottom one that goes through the frame is 5/8. So they started to turn together, which was kind of a pain in the butt. But what I did was, up here on the top, I put my wrench against the body of the master cylinder to hold it, and I grabbed a 3/4 inch 12 point socket and pretty much just broke the bolt, or I'm sorry, the nut on the bottom going through the frame. Once that was done, pop the bolt right through, master cylinder comes right out. So pretty much to recap this, going back, here are your two rods, brake and clutch. You do have to take the inspection cover off behind the wheel. Take this bolt off to get the pedals out of the way. Then you want to take this off the front of the master cylinder, work this little keeper out. Once that's done, I mean, in any order you can do this, really in any order. You want to take off the clutch rod and the eccentric bolt, one bolt here, or one nut, one cotter pin, one spring. The whole thing comes off of this arm. Take the spring off of the brake arm assembly, and then this bolt, once again, it's kind of countersunk, so kind of a pain in the butt, but 3/4 inch, just put a stubby socket on there and use a big breaker bar, and that will come off. So really, it is fairly simple, but you're dealing with 80 or 70-year-old technology here that's been in the car probably for 70 years. Expect to fight stuff, expect rust, and if you don't want to do this, pay someone to do it, because I'm in this thing right now, taking this thing out of the car about 3 hours. Okay, so enough of me rambling for that. I hope that helps anyone that's trying to do this or has looked up how to pull a master cylinder from a 49 Chevy. I would have filmed it, but it is literally, there's no room to film and get a camera and get your hands. It's impossible. I mean, really, if you want to pay someone to do this, just pay someone to do it. It sucks. But it's not hard if you know what you're doing and what stuff to take off and what stuff to leave. So I'm done with myself rambling now. Let's get into rebuilding the front wheel cylinders. I'm going to pull the back ones first, and then we'll do all of them at the same time. One last thing I'll say on this thing, on this master cylinder, is when you remove it, obviously the bolts have to come out of the pedals, but once you do that, and once this little thing is out, these arms will come right off. However, if they are stuck, I mean, I've read forums where people leave the arms attached, but once the bolts are out, and once you get these arms off, you can just pull the arms right out. You know, there's enough access where you can do that. But if they're stuck, just get a pry bar in here and just pry. And as you pry, work the arm up and down, and it will come out. But again, I know people have said that you can leave the arms on. I have never tried that, but just from how much of a pain in the butt it was to get this thing out by itself, just take the arms off. It takes an extra 30 seconds once all this stuff is done, and you can take the arms out individually, get them out of your way, and then you're not fighting them once the whole master cylinder's done. All right, buddy, me and Felix are gonna rebuild some brakes. Okay, so my friend Norm is back, and he's helping me take the cups out of the wheel cylinders, and we're doing it outside here on the bench for better lighting, for everyone that wants to bitch about that. So, you pretty much just have to drive the cups out, and if you can't do it with a punch, we're gonna try it with a punch. Just use a ball joint press. And those work really good. We've already done three of the four here. All it is 2 cups, a spring in the middle, and then 2, I don't know, what'd you call these, rubber gaskets?
Cups, yeah.
Rubber cups,
rubber
yeah.
cups.
So 2 rubber cups, a spring, and then 2 steel cups. Pretty simple. So we're gonna try it by hand first. Oh, this is not the one we wanna hit. Okay, Norm. And just try to drive them out. They're coming. And easy as that. That one's kind of seen better days.
Yeah.
But yeah, the spring will sit inside that pocket like that, and then the steel cup, the opening goes towards the outside. So pretty basic, but again, just use a punch, and if they don't come out, use a ball joint press. Now I'm gonna take these home, soak these in diesel to break up all the crud, and then we'll come back in a few days, and Norm is gonna help me hone these out with just a brake cylinder hone. But then once that's done, we'll rebuild them. Thanks, Norm.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're working on the rears now, and it's the same process as the fronts. However, I got this kit online as a rebuild kit, and as you see, it's in one bag, but there's 2 individual bags inside. And it says right there, wheel cylinder rebuild kit, rear, 1 1/8 inch bore, Chevy, 49 to 50, which is what we're working with. Now, when we open the kit, we have the rubber seals, 1 1/8, that is correct. However, we have wheel cylinder repair kit, 1 3/16 inner diameter. So, we're gonna do this in real time, because the reason I'm showing this is you have to use your original ones if they're in good shape, and if they're not, find some elsewhere. Maybe you can use them, but I'll show you why I don't want to in a minute. The inside, the dish part, there we go. The dish part goes inside of the cylinder. There we go, like so. All right, so once the first one is done, I'm gonna open the bag, the 3/16 bag, and there's a spring, and the spring just fits, so that's okay. So I'll put the spring in there, I'll put the cup, the rubber cup or washer or rubber stopper, whatever you want to call it. Set that in there like so. All right. Now, the original steel plungers, the cup side faces out. So let's press them in on each side like so. Sometimes I need a little bit of persuasion right there. Okay, so the reason I don't like this is here's an original, or here's a new one, and here's an original. Now, they're the same outer diameter, but if you look, there's a lot more meat right here inside. So the inner diameter on this was like 1.5 inches with a caliper, and me and my friend Norm measured this one, and this one is 1.7. So, I mean, look how much room there is there. Just way too loose. And I emailed them, and they said, well, this is the kit we sell. I just don't like that. I mean, maybe it's the way it should be. I don't know why. I mean, they'd be so big. Here's a front one even. I mean, it's the same size as the front almost. Probably is actually. I didn't even measure the front one, but look how much gap there is right there. Same thing. All that gap. So, once you're done there, I've cleaned up my original ones. And it's kind of a tight fit, which I thought you wanted to have. Maybe you don't. And you just got to tap them on there. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't want them that tight. I mean, these are the original ones off of the cylinder. So it's not like you're doing any damage by reusing them. But you know, these are hard to get on. You just have to kind of tap them a little bit with a hammer. I mean, they go right on there. It's just they're tight. That's a whole lot better. You know, I can't show it now. Well, yeah, I can. It's a whole lot better. There's 2/10 of a gap there. I don't know. If I'm wrong, or if someone's used this kit before and why they're made like that, please let me know. Something about that doesn't sit right with me, so I'm not going to use them. I'm not knocking the company per se, because the customer service has been pretty good. But it's just, I wish they would tell you, you know, if they sell a 1 1/8 inch rebuild kit, they should tell you exactly what comes in the kit. You know, the spring and the star wheels, whatever these are 1 3/16. They come with 1 3/16 cups, which leads me to believe these are also a rebuild kit for their aftermarket ones. So I don't know. Either way, though, get them all together. That literally took 2 minutes. Get your I don't know what you call these, your bolts. Just get them nice and freed up, and we'll bolt this in the car and bleed the system. All right, so now we've got the master cylinder here in the vise, and we're going to take this thing apart. So the first thing to do is remove the boot. Screwdriver and a little bit of force pulls that right off of there. And as you can see right there, there is a snap ring or a snap clip that holds all of this stuff in place. So we're going to take a couple small screwdrivers, and we're going to work that bad boy out of there and then free this whole thing up. So just you have to kind of get in there with a screwdriver and a hammer. Takes a little bit of time. Not going to film all that. But first things first, remove that snap ring. My recommendation for a snap ring, they probably make a screwdriver or something, but just get like a little curved flat screwdriver and just work it in there with the hammer. Get behind it. Took about 10 minutes, but there she is. Now once that's out, the push rod and its housing or whatever you would call this comes right out. Now let's take the back side off and push all this stuff out. All right, so the brake fitting at the back, this brass piece, can be removed with a 7/8 wrench. There is a copper washer, so keep that. This back portion here is 1 5/16. It is spring loaded. I just don't want the spring to go everywhere. All right, so if you look at this here, there's this metal cup thing that faces like that. So there's a rubber gasket, a little metal, whatever that little doodad is, and the spring. So spring, metal doodad, all of it goes in together. And I'm doing this because when I take this or put this back together, I'm going to watch this video again and know how it goes. One thing I did not do that I need to do is take the lid and all that good stuff off first, because it's pretty gross. 4 screws, I believe. This, I can't remember what size this is, maybe 7/8 as well. Either way though, I've already got this one loose, so take it loose, take the top off, and then I'll put it back in the vise. I'm not really sure, I guess, if you need to take the cover off or not. Both ends are exposed, so it's not like you're building pressure when you're trying to push the piston out. I guess just for good measure, might as well make it as easy as you can on yourself. So again, I don't know if this is needed or not. Well, it's still got fluid in it, so that's cool. But regardless, we'll just take the cover off. Probably should get all that brake fluid out of there. I'm gonna grab a bag, put those in, because that brake fluid is so corrosive. I guess that'd be one reason to take the lid off before, so you don't get all that brake fluid everywhere when you push the piston out. All right. Now with a punch, the rubber cup is on top here, but with a punch, ooh, that cylinder is pushing fluid. All right, let's try this again. All right, so just a couple nice hits. Should come out the bottom here. A lot of cruddy fluid as well. All right, now just for reference, all right, so now that the plunger is out, the side that's flat here with the rubber grommet went inside, so the cupped end was towards the front of the cylinder, which makes sense because then that rides on it like that. So there is still a rubber washer inside. Looks like a crush washer. All right, and then also, for reference, it looks like the spring, the inside of the spring, sat inside of there, inside of that cup, that rubber cup. And if that's wrong, I'm going to figure it out when we put it back together, but that's just how it came apart, so. All right, that's done. Pretty gross inside of there. Needs a good hone and a good clean. And that's what we're going to next. We're going to hone the inside of the cylinder. We're going to blow out all these cavities that we can. I'm going to clean up these two holes where the rods go, the clutch and the brake. And we'll come back. All right, so the master cylinder is now clean, degreased, honed. My friend Norm helped me hone the 1-inch bore. Here is the rebuild kit. So this is the original screw-in fitting on the back. However, it comes with a new crush washer and rubber gasket. There's a rubber spring, I don't know what you call them, gasket that sits right there. The spring, this little piece comes by itself, but you snap it in place as so. You have a new push rod and a new boot. So first things first, I've already taken the liberty of doing this, is put the crush washer on, get the rubber gasket on there, and screw it into the back of the housing. Again, this is a 1 5/16. I'll tighten all this stuff up later. Now we'll flip it around and work on the front side. All right, this is the front of the master cylinder here. So now we're going to take our spring with the concave portion that you snapped on. That will go in. Then the rubber gasket. It's a tight fit. There we go. Then here's the push rod. You got a flat end and a dished end. Like so. And then last but not least, we'll put our, where's our cover here? There it is. Get all this pushed down. I need to sandblast this and clean this up, so I will do that quickly. Once all that's in, press this down. The push rod and the little stopper goes in, and then your new snap clip, which is right there. Just get that in place, put your boot on, and you're all done. Very, very simple. All right, so these brakes are not like a traditional brake system where the star wheel, the adjusting wheel is on the bottom. These are actually built into the wheel cylinder. So my friend Andrew is here, and we just bled the brakes, and he's gonna explain to us how you would adjust these. Now, there are 2 cuts in the top on the backing plate to do this, like with a spoon wheel, or what are those called, a wheel spoon?
Yeah, wheel spoon.
But we're gonna do, yeah, brake spoon, but we're gonna do this with the drum off. So Andrew just...
I'm just saying now, I'm not 100% sure. Just looking at these, easiest way for me to explain it is this side turns out by itself and this side turns out by itself. So if you're doing this at home, I would probably turn both sides clear in. If you turn this one 3 times, turn this one 3 times, fit your drum, make sure it's gonna slide on there nice and tight. But like you were saying, these aren't traditional style where you have an adjuster that sits in the middle and it basically is a piece of threaded rod with a lever like this, and then you turn it and then adjust both sides at the same time. These are a little different. I've never dealt with one, so I'm kind of learning as you guys are, but we're just gonna turn these out half a dozen turns, make sure they're going the right way, because make sure you're adjusting the right way. And that one's about to turn out.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and I'm counting the threads. I'm not going by turns because I turned that one 15 times and this one 3, but I'm counting the threads that are showing from what I can see. This guy's got a thread showing and this one's got a thread showing. You slide your drum on.
Which these drums are warped. I need to get new ones, but...
Yep, he's tight ass. And it's got a little bit of movement side to side. It's not really what you want. You want it to be a tight fit. That drum's just a little snug because it is warped. You just keep turning until you get a nice snug fit. I keep turning this the wrong way.
Yeah, turn them in, or it'd be down if you're doing it from the back side.
Yeah.
Andrew, thanks for the help, my friend.
No problem.
All right, everybody, so that's the end of part 3 today on the 1949 Chevy. This was how to rebuild the wheel cylinders and the master cylinder and adjust Huck style brakes. Also, I was doing some research online and come to find out these rear drums, well actually all the drums, are different than the Bendix style. As you see here, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 impressions, there's 3 grooves, and these drums will not fit a 51 and newer style car. And because of that, they are not reproduced. The used ones online are about 115 bucks a piece if you can find them. So these are warped in the back. We fired this thing up, put it in first gear, and it would spin, catch, spin, catch, spin, catch, spin, catch. So the rotors are out of round. I can try to have them turned, but half of me thinks that they're gonna be too bad to save. So just keep that in mind when you're taking them apart. If the car does run, maybe just throw it in first gear and break them loose that way. And if it doesn't run, then just be ready to look for drums or take them off very, very carefully. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's not super riveting content, but everyone is looking for help, like I was. You know, you look up on YouTube how to do something, and if there's no videos out there, it's nice to have one. I did it all myself the first time, following a few videos, and a lot of help from my friend Norm and Andrew coming over and adjusting them and helping me bleed the brakes. But it's very simple to work on. You just have to do it. So thank you all for watching. My name is Ryan with Iowa Classic Cars. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. Comment what you would change or what you would do differently. Would you just buy brand new wheel cylinders, or would you go the route I did and rebuild the ones you have? And if you're brand new, make sure to subscribe to always see cool content like this. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.